the salt shed project up there.
They did submit it.
Yeah, no, I know that I submitted all the stuff for the grant from our side, insurances.
Yeah.
All of that good stuff, so I've done all the paperwork from my side, but I'm talking about like on the ground, like
Hi, Victoria.
shoveling, and has anything started there?
Do you know, Bill? The salt shed?
Actually, I think you drive,
Yeah, no, that's a while ago. And
so it's actually being built right now as we speak.
they've already got the square out, I was told I didn't go out there to look at it, but, you know, that supports the have I think it was 6 or 8 feet of concrete.
Oh, so they actually have those out right here right now.
I was told they already have that done. So they're pretty.
All right, then I'm gonna have to stop. Actually, funny enough, considering the fact that I'm going towards Albany Way,
You, unmute your microphone, please.
And we're good to go, Brittany. Hand it off to you. You can start.
Right.
I got a question.
Also, I still got more, county attorney for, MOU between me and the village for that radar station.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. I haven't forgotten about it, it's just that I wrote up all the primitive MOU, and then I kind of like forwarded it on the county attorney, because, you know, they like to see the look over the recording for things.
Thank you, Paul, thank you for this.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Okay, it's 4:00, let's begin. Let's start with the minutes of July 1. Do I have a motion to approve?
Sorry, in our routine, but I just want to let you know we do have Jeff Katz.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Hi, Jeff.
One more.
Okay, Bill moved. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, first, is an update on the response to the, articles in the paper and on social media about the wake boat or wake boarding information. Two things that are gonna happen. Jenna is gonna post the graphic that we got from, Kyoko from Lake. What is it?
Last while.
Yes.
Yeah.
To social media, and then the graphic and explanation will go out with the Village Voices. So we'll just start to, get the correct, evidence and facts out there, because there's a lot on social media that is not exactly accurate. So Jacob, was able to talk with, Alan about that, so appreciate that.
Just to clarify, she said that the text part, because the text is just like a written up explanation of what's in the graphic. And that's the part that she was gonna put in the Village Voices.
Got it,
Voices.
okay. All right. No, okay, good news. Okay, let's go to the inspection report, which is at your place. Jacob?
Sure, so I'm having pause. If you have any questions, I'm probably gonna go through this fairly quick. No substantial issues with anybody on this list. The first one at 6429, we're going to do that, very low usage. 207 Limited Development Road, very similar. Seasonal usage camp with minimal buildup, very pleasant order to deal with. The number 3 and 4 are a combined property. Excuse me, not a combined property, but they have an ETU. It is used by both residences. That was something that was approved quite a while back by the WSC, but I've got in contact with them and made sure that I've confirmed that they have an annual service contract, and that I talked with Ed Olson, who was the primary system inspector at some point in the past year. So confirmed that those are both operating well and have been inspected this season. Dillingham family, that was actually the first one I went out on. That was pumped out during the inspection, and there were no issues noted there. The Ironhofer family, that one did go well, but very close to the lake, proximity to the system, so I think it was good to be checked on that. Very diligent homeowner, I believe he used to be part of the OLA back in its founding days, but that tank did need to be emptied.
Founding president.
Yes, sir, he informed me of that.
Recognize that name, Jim?
Very,
I
Ironhofer,
don't know.
Founding.
Founding president.
yeah. So anyway, I had a very pleasant visit there, and the system got pumped off while I was there. No issues at the Fulmer House at 25 Crest Tooth Circle. Gardner family, there was no issues with that one. There were some chipped edges on the lid to the tank, but the lid was wide enough, sort of had two components to it, so I didn't have any concerns that it was leaking, but I did discuss with them that they should be planning on replacing that lid, certainly by the next time I did an inspection, just to make sure there weren't any issues. Holbrook, so this is one of the homes on the Bush Hager estate. And I actually went to inspect one, and they thought I was inspecting another one, which was also on my list, so I actually did their main house instead. very low usage, very well maintained system. And there were nothing really noted there. The caretaker did request, and I'm gonna attempt to implement, both for his convenience and mine, that I'll be doing all of those in the estate at the same time on my 3-year rotation. So I might be inspecting them again, the same property, the same home. I might inspect next year as well, just to get them on the same rotation. ETU at the Murray home at 6454, that was well maintained. It was pumped out during the inspection. Mike Stockman was there, so I got to see a bit of the ETUs in action. That was cleaned out, everything was well functioning. Visited Bill's neighbor a couple of times, the Ralph home. Had some difficulty determining where things were, but eventually Henry Dillon and I were able to determine that, and again, no real issues with their system. Everything seemed to be functioning quite well, and a very low accumulation in their tank. The Schmidt family at 148 Pegs Bay Road, same thing, seem to be very diligent homeowners. They get a pump out regularly every 3 years. I saw no issue with the system, and had a little bit of accumulation, but not much, and they're planning to pump out next year, so you'll probably see them again on the list next year, just so I can maintain their pump out schedule and have my inspections coincide with it. Laura Wilhelm, 167 Love Development Road, again, very low usage, very low buildup in the tank, no issues there. And then, yesterday and today, I went out and visited the McCullough home at 111 Burt Crane Road. You all had approved a new ETU septic system at that residence, last year. So that's going in right now. They're putting it in yesterday and today, and I went and inspected. Had a very pleasant conversation with a guy from JD Septics and Sewers. It's very, very knowledgeable on ETUs, and it's largely all they deal with at JD Septic and Sewers. This system, which you might be familiar with because you reviewed it, also has phosphorus removal as part of it. So it has these plates that they run electricity through, and evidently a well-used home would require for those plates to be replaced on an annual basis. He said some of the seasonal homes, it can be less. But very interesting, at least from their perspective, they feel like this is an advanced enough system that there's essentially nothing going out to the leach field that they've got above the house. So good that it's there, but also good that it's a well-managed system. And the only thing I have left to do with that one, pending your approval, is that I will be confirming that they have the 3-year maintenance contract, but that should already be in place because that's literally on the plans that Jim Forbes gave you all last year.
All right, this is great. It's very heartening. 15 inspections done. And pretty good news.
And I have a lot more that are lined up for the rest of the season. There's some that are going to be very time consuming, so they'll be later season, but
You think
yeah, generally doing well.
will we get caught up just from the ones that are due?
In terms of the third that I have to do, an annual basis, I think we should be able to get close. It largely, some of it is going to depend on how quickly after we've had our big meeting and such, and I can transition to doing more of these in the late fall.
And
Yes,
Joe is still trying to figure out how to
mhm.
maybe help with that.
Yeah.
But then, because Jacob, we really have last year's that weren't really, not many were done, right? So we've got that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Great work. Any questions from members or team members?
What was the JP? The, the
JV septic and sewer,
JP.
JV, then we'll wait.
Say again, Jay.
JV septic and sewer,
But that's the vendor who came to explain Fuji system.
yes. And again, this is a good company for us to touch base and become familiar with. They also have test units. So according to the gentleman I talked to yesterday, in the United States, we're 3-4 generations behind what they have in Japan. But you can't necessarily expect everything that works there just because of diets and different usages and stuff that would work here.
Right.
So he literally has systems that you can't even sell yet in New York State that they have run as test systems. His company is running his test systems just to test out their efficacy for an American home.
Right.
Did he have any comment on the frequency of inspection of that by us or is he and somebody can go there once a year?
Yeah, and if anybody's not familiar with it, if you go to the village law website, you go to, where there is the watershed stuff, at the very head of that section, there is a guidance document. I don't know if you all back in the day had something to do with producing that, but it's like my inspection requirements. And, for ETUs, I require that the homeowner has an annual inspection of that system, which I do think is prudent, because again, they're great until they're not, right? You're talking about a lot of homes that are very close proximity to the lake. So generally speaking, the ETUs are supposed to be inspected by a trained technician on an annual basis. And I talked to the gentleman today. What is required just per Jim Forbes's plans is that they have to have a continuous service contract with somebody for that first 3 years. So, I'll certainly be checking on all of our ETUs on an annual basis, I think. I don't know if that means I physically need to go see them every year, but certainly I need to confirm that a knowledgeable technician has been out to service it, replace anything that needed replacing and pump it if it requires it.
So if they were bonded, wouldn't even need to go visit those places, all you would need is the proof of the yearly maintenance or the 3-year maintenance or whatever the maintenance contract is. That might be one way to get ahead
Yeah,
on what we're doing, but it would require something like bonding.
Yeah.
Follow me?
Yes.
Yeah, and if we're gonna see more and more of these systems, it's silly for him to be going out there inspecting a technology that he's unfamiliar with. When we've got an expert who is maintaining it regularly, the only question is that guy really an expert?
yes.
And that's why I say bonding.
So, the Fuji system is the one that is approved by Suffolk and, the Long Island, yeah, for removing nitrogen. And they also remove phosphorus at the same time. And those counties have the licensing program so that their septic professionals have to go through the training by the Rhode Island, the newly picked program.
Yeah.
And so they're licensed. So, for example, if JVs have technicians who are certified by the Long Island standards, and that is administered by the New York State, then we could say, if you have the certification from, downstate, then we would believe that you're well trained and you're versed in the ETU or ATU maintenance, and we would take your paperwork as a certification of service. And that way you don't have to go and
Yeah, that's
probably for I think ETU, you mean the same thing as ATU, the advanced or enhanced treatment unit.
Yeah, I mean, what I have been told by AI is that those terms are somewhat interchangeable. I think ETU is used more commonly and ATU refers to the aerobic aspect of the overall unit.
Yeah,
But
downstate,
I've
they,
also seen the advanced treatments.
yeah, for the downstate, they use the word A/I. OTWS, and that is advanced/innovative on-site wastewater treatment system. So that is the word that they use legally, so just so that everyone knows that they use, see that A/I, that's the same as advanced.
okay.
Just because they're trained doesn't mean that they're not beyond writing out a favorable inspection report without doing the work, and that's why I come back to something akin to bonding. I think you need to be
Yeah.
looking for that.
Bonded or certified, yeah, but, okay. More to follow, we'll chat more about that.
Okay.
Okay,
Virginia, if we can move on, can I request approval based on this list? And again, I'm willing to answer more questions than I could issue certificates of compliance to this particular set of 15 folks.
One second.
okay, so Paul moved, Bill seconded, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
excellent. Good job. This is great news. Okay,
$50 a year down. $150 a visit.
Yes.
Yeah. So, some quick updates, let's try and get to the fundamental letter that Jeff had talked about last time. I sent it all to you, it's essentially a letter that would come from Jacob, or Jacob and I, one of those combos, that says, we got your letter, it's gonna be something to consider, et cetera, et cetera. Are you all okay with that letter? And we'll use it as we see fit, which means we may also add several paragraphs if you want. If Jacob is specifically written to, he might do whatever he wants with it. But I wanted to be sure everyone's okay with that approach that we're taking, and we did send the letter out. Jeff provided some input to it. Everyone okay with it? I don't think we need to vote on it. As long as no one's worried about it. Okay, so we'll use it in the 3 letters that we got from the last meeting. Shall we do that and start that?
Sure.
Okay. All right, great. Launch schedule under quick updates, we won't have that. Letter, we did the letter to concerned citizens. Let's just go through these quickly. I remain confused about Willowbrook, concerned and confused. I don't know what the next steps are. Are we waiting for the 9E, or do we want to do something? Or are we gonna examine something before we do something? I mean, please help me understand. Are we all confused?
No, regardless, I think we're waiting, 90 or not, we're waiting for a request for proposals that fits.
Okay,
And,
yeah, okay. Yes? Agree.
as Christos told us last meeting, there are not many requests for proposals for dredging type projects. Normally are expensive and beg the question as to what is going to happen to thwart the need for dredgings in the future. I think our dredgings are very different than dredgings that have been proposed for other lakes, because they're not in the lake. They are for these feeder ponds and streams to the lake.
But at the same time, based on that previous conversation,
You need to be looking for opportunity.
Okay,
but at the same time, as noted in the previous, in the last time we had that conversation regarding this, was it the last time, the last grant that was applied pertaining to this issue? That dredging would be part of the, or at least, no, let's keep that dredging to sediment collection areas, let's call them that. Was part of the standard O and M of the, of Willowbrook. That's what I came to understand,
okay,
but I will keep abreast of anything pertaining to finding some form of funding to remove that, because I know for the standard WQIP, it'd be a very hard ask to find funding to remove those sediments and materials, because we're not improving aquatic connectivity, we're not restoring floodplain, we're not doing any of those things.
okay,
Just a bit of a recap based on the last time's conversation.
okay. Bill, the don't get eaten alive in the voting maps, do you wanna wait till next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sort of know, so.
Okay,
Can I just say something quick about the, don't get eaten alive? I can't remember whether I got things out to people. This is was done by the people of Lake George that produced a little pamphlet about the downsides of using bubblers during the winter. And there's some safety aspects to it, like having the area marked, to not have them exceed the size of your property, so that it affects your neighbor, not being able to get on the lake, a number of things like that. It's very well done. And I talked to the guy who put it together and the woman who printed them up. And they said that we could have them and use them as we wanted. And I was thinking there might be a value when we're getting towards the end of the summer or early fall, to send that around to the people who live on the lake, not everybody who has butlers, I don't know what the cost for reprinting these would be. They couldn't remember exactly what the costs were when I talked to them on the phone. It's a very nice pamphlet, I can send it, send around, you can find it on the internet, really easy. Look at, get the Lake Jordan one. Part, and I think it's, educational, it's not insulting, it's, sort of written like a help out your neighbors, sort of attitude. And I thought it would be valuable for us to get something like that.
Okay, so we'll set some time aside next meeting to sort of take a look at that, because we've been sort of referring to it for a few months, so it probably would be a good idea.
They actually have a whole bunch of stuff about lake management is part of it. That is that brochure, but they've done a lot of work on that kind of stuff. It's all those very high quality.
Okay, HABs notification, they are, as you know, they're going to the Watershed, email listserv. Victoria, is it going to all of the OECA email group?
No. But I can put it in. I'm just trying to think. We can send notifications out to our group in the event of tabs. We didn't last time, but we can.
Okay, does that make sense to you? I was just thinking, it's a much bigger group and we hit more
Yeah.
people. Just to be sure people are aware for their health and pet.
Right. Because I think mostly our email list is for our Eco Bulletin newsletter, but I can talk to Kendall, who's in charge of it, and see if that's something we can do, like
Okay.
emergency kind of notifications.
Yeah.
So I can check in with her. And
There is a new interim leader at OCCA, more to follow on that, and when you'll fill us in on that, Victoria, as that
Yeah.
progresses.
Yeah, Jeff O'Handley is our interim executive director for now.
Okay,
Would that be Jeff O'Henley?
Yes.
Oh, Jeff.
yeah. And Jim, do you think that when Florian sends that out, do you also forward it to the OLA crowd or no?
What we're talking.
On the hats?
The VFS? No, we report on our website, but I don't,
Okay,
I don't send, we don't send routine stuff. out.
We try to, yeah.
Let's see, we put it up, got 60,000 did send something around.
yes, yeah, they took Florian's email and sent it to everybody, which is wonderful. I mean, that's really wonderful, I think. Go ahead, you were gonna say something, Paul?
Just that it's a balancing act. We want to make sure, OLA wants to make sure when they send something out, that it actually,
It's important,
yeah,
yeah.
gets paid attention to.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, it's up to you guys. I just wanted to make sure that. Okay, Peggy Lalinick, we're waiting for Joe to talk to those guys and then come back to you. Nothing on the SRBC sensors?
I am looking at, the installation sites, I have contacted, the survey and the surveyor and, the vendor. I haven't heard back from the water treatment facility, or the wastewater about whether it's okay to install a meter on either the side of the dam or, under the bridge. So I need to circle back to that. The last email I have is from Ellen saying that she's going to defer that to the director of the wastewater water treatment plant. Can you look at that, Jacob?
Let me check back up on that. I saw you got a response back from Mitch on the
Yeah.
poll. Do you think you have that end of it?
So that one, yeah, turns out that the poles are a little too exposed according to the vendors.
Yeah.
But I found a wooden pole that is quite high that has one outlet on it. And that may be high enough and close enough to the water surface. If the sensor can be installed at an angle, that I'm checking with the vendor right now.
Okay, and I'll check with the water department and see if I get an answer for you then.
Yes.
Sure.
Update on the wake boat, issue. Springfield, I thought was going with a fairly aggressive wake zone. Apparently that's also on hold.
It didn't, it was supposed to come up and be voted on last night or on Monday night, but it was not, and, they didn't discuss it any more than that, so the expectation was that it would come up next meeting, which is the second Monday of the month, next month.
I'd like to provide a couple of observations on wake boat in the lake.
Okay,
There is, two wake boats, one on the east side and one on the west side up in Springfield that have been doing the wakeboarding here quite regularly recently. And I've got to admit, I'm still trying to puzzle through the difference. But the one boat that goes out pretty regularly, the, half hour before sunset to dark time, goes up and down the lake, rides that wake, and most of the time, there is just a small wave that comes up and laps against the shore. This was quite evident last week when we had some really still water. But twice on Wednesday last week, they generated wake that came barreling in and took our DFS boathouse docks and rocked them up and down, whipped them around. And on the second time, it took a 22-foot pontoon boat and stuck up the one pontoon on the dock before it rolled back. And it didn't just do it to ours, the neighbors were there and watched their boats get rocked all over the place too. So there is some difference in how they're doing the waking. Oh, and I failed to mention the most important point, because I've been pondering very carefully a 1,500-foot no wake zone, which would coincide with our municipal, capabilities to regulate, and that boat was well outside 1,500 feet. It was running up and down the lake just to the east of Sunken Island and then down to Peg's Point in the center of the lake and then back again. That's a pretty broad, and they were doing in terms of location. I couldn't ask them to be in a better spot, be in the middle of the lake where it's deep. But that wave came in and, 3 students saw it as well as myself and the neighbors to the north of the boathouse. Saw those boats just smacked all over the place on a brand new dock, just doing that for a couple of times.
yeah, so, you know, as we decided up at BFS, these many months ago, the potential for damage
Yeah.
is critical no matter where you are, although I'm glad that we tried to examine if we could do something in the middle of the lake, but now we have some evidence that maybe even that is dangerous, which Matt's been saying to us. I guess my question, I have an uncomfortable question for us as a membership and as the team around the table. Do we want to have another conversation with Springfield? There is no plan to not allow launching, or to require that the boat be kept here at all times as opposed to coming and going. Is there a desire for us to have a conversation, town of Otsego, town of Middlefield, the village? And think it over, don't have to respond now, but
It needs to be more than me.
it needs to be more than Bill, and it should be us as a team. To have a conversation about, either we're concerned about this or we're not, and when we decide something, as we did a few months ago as a team.
The idea was for everybody to agree on common language, because that's the only way it has a chance of enforcement. I'm sorry, everybody's trying to do the right thing, but I would rather have a weak law, well enforced, than no strong laws that aren't being enforced.
Yeah.
Thoughts? Is there any way to have some sort of statement from the people who witnessed that incident where the wake?
I think the neighbors would have any trouble with that. I can certainly, go back to the students.
Because, it seems like the wakeboard was operating, as, conscientiously as possible, and they probably don't know how big the lake could be on the eastern and western side of the lake.
Let me make clear, maybe I didn't say this. They came up and down at least 25, 30 times. Only twice did they generate wake that I would consider to be potentially damaging. They're doing something differently,
Okay.
and I don't know what it is.
Also, the New York State navigational law says that the boaters are responsible for any damage caused by their own wake.
Yeah.
So legally, boat operators own their wakes.
We stood out there with our cell phones waiting for them to do it a third time. So catch them. We waited 25 minutes and they never did it again. I don't know whether they knew that they had screwed up or what. Yeah.
Well, Jeff,
Yeah, which in answer to your question, I would say yes, and I would say that for a couple of reasons. Number one, this now has been out in the community, in the public, and we've had an opportunity to hear from various sources about their thoughts about this, and we did the article and all that stuff. There's a lot of feedback we get, and I think we're in a different spot now than we were 2 or 3 months ago in that regard. We talked about this last night at the town of Middlefield meeting. And my read of our board is this, that there is an interest and an earnestness about doing something for the health of the lake. There also is a desire to be responsive to what they're hearing. And in the interest of being fair, are there other ways to skin this cat? And a couple of ideas emerged that we might consider. So I think it would be purposeful to do this, but recognize the village's leadership in getting something done quickly. But we heard that the Middle State navigational law was brought up on somebody's laptop last night, and what he read, we don't have the authority to do this. We can't ban boats. Now, that's a reading, I didn't look for the end and so forth, but we can't ban certain boats. Well, I need that, I'm not a lawyer, if it wasn't our attorney. But I've heard enough to say that, it's good to revisit. And the other thing is that maybe getting a little bit of underplay with this, I don't know. But it's, Jake and I spoke earlier today, it's the invasive species piece. And I don't know that we've made the case for that as strongly as we could have in terms of the potential impact of invasive species. Not diminishing the impact in the import of erosion and digging up sediments out of the lake. That's important. But in a relative sense, it may be invasive species, and that may lead to a consideration of how we approach this differently in terms of lawn and cleaning. And you get proof for me, that your valves are clean, there isn't any invasive species in there. Well, that's different than, your boat's going to create noise greater than 1 foot,
Right.
whatever. So yes, I would support a good, healthy discussion on this with every intent of doing something that will help
yeah.
to help the lake.
Florian spoke to that at the village public hearing on this very eloquently. And it made an impression, I think, on the group that was here. It just something they hadn't thought about, they don't think about it every day like some of us do. So I'll coordinate a get together. I'm gonna ask the various expert scientists to really be prepared to talk this through and be clear on what the impact is. So I'll set that up. I'm sure I won't be able to do it lickety split. I know that Pat Kennedy has pushed out the discussion of this because of a change in the supervisory role there. Which is
But there's
good.
also some concern that's unstated that's between them all, so
Yeah.
she's
Okay.
reading the board, we need to.
Yeah.
I would just say this, that the Middlefield Town Board felt strongly that we want to be together on this. that we don't want one set of laws or one town, another. They were, very interested in there being a common approach in how we do this, so that show unity and togetherness, I appreciate.
Yeah. And remember, when we started with this, we sent out the law that the village was gonna put together, so that everyone had that. And really starting out, wanting to make sure that we all did the same thing, but nobody was banning anything. It was more, what certain things that could not happen, regardless of what the vote was, so. I think that got misinterpreted in social media, but I think the key is if we stay with the science and our policies follow the science. Then we can sleep at night, even though folks may be upset, and we just have to stay with the science. You know, in healthcare, if you don't stay with the science, people die, right? So you gotta, this doesn't happen here, but I think we have to be respectful of the science. So, okay, I'll get something together, thanks. Harry, I think you were gonna say
Yeah,
something.
I was wondering if there was some kind of police activity on the lake for monitoring that
Not
kind
yet,
of action.
not yet,
So that was
There will,
slowed
there
down,
will, there will be later.
so then that might slow them down, if they just saw the appearance and,
yeah,
you know, and then just had that thought in mind.
Yeah,
And
no,
they were
they-
going 30 times back and forth, it builds the weight eventually till it gets to that.
exactly.
If it was once or twice, it might not happen.
Right. Okay, at this point, I'm gonna like pause the agenda and let's talk about the letter to the towns that I sent out to all of you. Paul had suggested that we spend some good time at this meeting to talk it through. So, any input for me? Us? You have it, remember? Does anyone not have a copy who needs one, who's a member? Or a team member? You have it, Jason. That's okay, here, don't give about it. Does anyone else need it? I have a bunch of copies if you don't have.
I can pull it.
Yeah,
Of course. No. Let me know if you need more. But Joe, provided some input to this. Jeff provided some input into this. I have no ego attached to this draft. I'm happy to change it in any way. Yes, yes. So our intention is to be able to work through this letter tonight and be able to send it fairly soon. What I could do is hold it for the meeting that we have as well, but I don't know, it's a separate topic, so I just want to be cautious about it.
I can tell you that the leadership in town of Springfield is basically said no. If they we could talk them through with the support for Kyoko. But and I said, why don't we just, you know, Henry Miller does all this different stuff and you know, writes the laws for the lake and inspects it, he does all this other stuff. They do not want to put that in as a written down thing, and he's feeling is just, doesn't want to have anything to do with it. I mean, it isn't the only thing about stuff we want to do that he doesn't want to have anything to do with it, but and, you know, and then turned around and within 10 minutes had a discussion about spending $340,000 on a truck for, you know, snow plowing. No problem with that.
Yeah. So,
we're working toward this because I have to get my budget request in by the end of the month, which is.
that's right. Thank you for the reminder.
I don't know, Bill, if it would help if any of us spoke with him, just in terms of make the case.
I think that would help. I think the more that he gets set out as a loner with this, the better off, because he's really stubborn about some of this stuff and it isn't the only idea that he's got that I don't agree with,
Now, this would be able,
yeah.
we could do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't promise what our board will do.
Yeah.
But as I was thinking about this, I think the letter, generally okay. One of them, this may be relevant, Bill, on the back side of this, or at the, I'm sorry, at the bottom and onto the backside, criteria that would be used, in terms of how we might design a formula to determine some municipalities' fair share. One thing, and I sort of mixed off of this, but I like the feedback from the group. Size of the municipality's budget. Why do I say that? If we said, as we have done, $5,000 per municipality over the last 2 or 3 years. Well, $5,000 as a percentage of Middlefield's budget may be very different than $5,000 as a percentage of Springfield's budget. And it's almost sounds like a NATO speech, but what I'm wondering is if one of the criteria we might use is the size of the budget. And by extension then, could we suggest a percentage of the budget? So for example, the budget in Middlefield is 1.9 million. And if we said, okay, just for the sake of discussion, we're asking each municipality to dedicate 1% of the budget to the health of the lake. So what's 1% of 1.9 million? That's 19,000, whatever it is. But something like that, which one could bank on year after year. And then that gets back to what we were talking about last time about, we don't have to get into, well, I don't support buoys, well, I like the idea of the buoy thing, or it's our contribution to the health of the lake. And we're gonna bank on one, the budget's 2.2 million, is 1%. That's what's gonna be contributed. But I think the size of the budget is relevant here because if you take an absolute number, 5,000 is a different percentage and a different impact from municipality to municipality.
Yeah.
So, and I just,
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'll put it in. I forgot to check. I remember you
So-
in the book.
Bill, again, since we're talking specifically about the objection from Springfield, it doesn't surprise me. Yeah. Right now, it appears that the folks that are present in Otsego and Middlefield for this, would Springfield likely feel the peer pressure if the other towns responded positively, or are they ready to thumb their nose? In fact,
I think this is, I'm not hearing it, there's virtually no discussion with the town board when I'm there. They don't talk about anything.
Yeah.
And this is basically, Galen's.
Yeah.
Or he wants to do.
I agree with your assessment, I'm just wondering if
Well,
everybody
I
else
think the
gets
more,
behind
more
this.
open in public we can make, we're better off, better chance we have.
I agree. I
So I think we should go ahead with the letter. I want to give you some,
feedback.
yeah,
Okay, good.
details.
What does it say?
There's a couple of paragraphs I think we could,
Rephrase?
yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and also, this is a bit of a teaser from the latest from the UFI, but northern end of the lake is actually sensitive to additional phosphorus input if they have that, according to the modeling.
There you have it.
So they have some,
And Bill, just in terms of approach, Galen, on this, I don't want to embarrass anybody, but one thing we could do is at the privilege of the floor, we can have 2 or 3 of us show up, and we'll have the whole board there, and they will at least hear what other municipalities are thinking. And if you run the privilege of the floor, there's no action required by the board, but get a chance to speak our piece and just in a nice supportive way. You know, this is what we're thinking of doing and like your consideration for such. And then we get on all the arguments in March. I wouldn't go there for 20 minutes, but take for 3 minutes, whatever's allocated, and just. Or if that's embarrassing to him, then that's not the way to do this, then just. All right, let's have a cup of coffee at Stagecoach, we want to talk about this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd go with the latter first, and, but I think we send this, okay, because it's the timing, A, but B, it'll give us some insight. There'll have to be some sort of official response. And so we'll have a sense from each town, what they're gonna, what their views are on this. And then we can have this other meeting and perhaps, you know, piggyback it if the conversation needs to happen. So I think I kind of do finesse it in that way.
How is this going to be addressed? Is he gonna say that this is to each of the towns or how that?
Well, that's,
Supervisor and board.
I would have, my plan was the town supervisor and board, because it's all public knowledge. So that's what I would have said, and it would come on WSC letterhead.
I guess I was thinking more of that it's going to all
Board members. No,
it's going to all of the the towns and the village.
not the village,
Well,
Why not
the
the
village?
well, because the village already has, like,
But that's the point. That whatever goes to the town should go to the village.
I think it should.
And maybe pro forma, you know, the village is already, but yes, it should go to.
got it. Fine,
I would. There are a lot of people that think that the money has, the village has all the money and, they get all the benefit because they have they get the drinking water and. At least this is what I hear them saying. I don't know how much of the public actually is. I mean, there isn't a huge amount of population in the town of Springfield that uses the lake. They don't actually live on it. I think it may be a little different.
but let's remember, it's not just the lake, it's the watershed. And
Well-
Springfield has most of the problems, their tributaries and all of that, so they should be interested in investing in it. So that it's just watershed, not just the lake.
I don't think they see the tributary. Any work on the tributary is benefiting them. It benefits the lake, it doesn't benefit them. It costs them, or they lose part of their agricultural geography to put riparian buffer in along the stream or something. I don't think they see that the same way as we do.
No.
And,
Okay.
I mean, I've talked to them about it a lot, but, and there are many families particularly in the North End, that have had big, pieces of property there for 100 years, and they think it's theirs. They don't even think about it being belonged to the lake. It's just their property, and their attitude about what they need to do for it, at least the ones I've run into, is pretty low.
Okay, well, let's send this with whatever edits, we'll send it to everybody, including the village and board of the village. My intent was to sign it from the members of the WSC, is that okay? We'll list the members out, you don't have to sign it, but we'll just list all the members out. Is that okay with everybody?
Can we just have a quick vote on that routine?
Of course.
Awesome.
Are we ready for the vote or more to say? Because we wanted to make sure, I want to make sure.
Your edits change anything, concept.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Do your edits change anything, concept?
No,
Just
no,
like-
I'm just trying to clarify. Some of the things to hear speak to us, but I'm not sure they would speak to folks who haven't been discussing this, repeatedly. I just want to work on that.
Yeah.
Question, do you have any feedback from Joe about with regard to the village?
Feedback for Joe, I'm sorry.
Do you have any feedback from Joe on the village position from the?
Yes, he made some edits to it.
Okay.
I think that was my mistake, that I thought it wasn't going to the village. It definitely should. But he's not in town, but when he is, I'll make sure, I'll double check, that's a good question.
Just to remind everybody, the village's fiscal year is what, April 1 to, March 31.
Yeah.
So their budget already contains, and I'm curious, and this is all transparent, I can go find the answer, how much money they've already dedicated in the current budget to this, to the, I'm interested in seeing what the number is, I, then check it out.
Yeah,
But they're gonna get this, but this will only be, as they do the budget for 2027. By March 31st of 2027.
we can give you a sense of the dollar figure. I mean, we're talking the water plant, we're talking all that stuff, it's huge. But we can certainly let folks know, it'll be a big percentage of the budget, but we can feed that information, it's public knowledge. No reason we can't. Yeah. Well, we can get it, we can do that work, Jake and I can look on that.
I don't think there should be in a letter, I think
No, no.
there should be for us to use when this letter hits. And he call us in and say, what the.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, if I could use Paul, if we do sit down with Galen and say, by the way, here's what the village is contributing in terms of the health of the lake.
Well,
Yes, it's got a high state because of drinking water supply. Middlefield has residences who are drinking water from Lake, that's Cedar Lake. So I mean, we're in that, not to the extent villages, but we're in that commit category. So
so Jeff, in terms of, are there any, no, we can't say that. It's not the WC. It's for whatever we come up with that needs funding, but it's not WC. There are.
what else do you call it? On the town budgets, they've got to call it something.
Yeah, what, I think we said watershed, support. General watershed
Okay,
support.
watershed support.
Otsego Lake and its watershed. So yeah, you just get me, but let me know if they are. So Paul's gonna get his changes to me. Doesn't look like there's some,
There's no
Subs-
content changes, just clarifying and explaining a couple of things that make a lot of sense to us.
okay,
I don't expect the town mothers to recognize immediately what the hell we're talking about.
okay. Go ahead, Gary.
Just wondering that the common goal to have all the towns in the village be as one for the sustainability and the quality of the lake should be the main title of that letter, and that's what we're really talking about.
Yep.
And forget all the other conversations.
Yeah.
It's just all about that. We're trying to make a plan for that
Yeah.
in each town, but we all have to agree in one place to make it be the best
Yes.
possible
And that's in there.
situation.
That's in the intro paragraph.
So you wanna make that completely, not even say anything else, just send that out to
Yeah.
them and have that as one paragraph.
Yeah.
And say, what can we do? Stop with all this other side.
Yeah.
Completely, until we can agree at least on that part.
Got it?
you might just, so for those who don't know what CONP is.
Yeah, on the other draft, I have it all written. She'll help me with that. She helped me with that. Okay, well, with those comments, do I have a motion to approve? Second,
Sorry.
all in favor? All opposed? Okay,
Even, let me just say, I think we all know this, but even if this was disapproved by all the towns, we are here to advocate for the lake, and this is forward to that,
it is.
so it's thoroughly appropriate that we push the towns to
To agree.
step up to the plate.
Well,
and fund some
to
of
agree
these
that we
issues.
share.
That's
We
it.
share the
As a
responsibility.
common goal.
Yeah, common goal. Okay, good. So just two things, before this topic. I sent you the Vermont Law and Styrofoam. I assume New York's law is probably gonna be someone, I don't know. And then, Jeff had recommended a grant management form. I think it's a great idea. I think what we're gonna do first is check and see if the village has such a form first. And if it does, we'll go from that. If it doesn't, then we've got a good document that we can, and essentially it talks about the type of funds that we're applying for, the due date, who's gonna do the match, who's responsible for the match, who's gonna manage it, who's responsible for managing it. You know, just a really good operational verification that before we send it, we've got everything in place. So thank you, Jeff. I think it's a great idea. We're just wanna quickly see what the village has already.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep the ideas coming, Jeff. They're great ideas. Okay, the 90 plan. Here's another difficult question. It's kind of a Willowbrook question. It's a routine, I don't get it yet question. Jake has helped me figure it out in the last day or so. Do you all understand the BMP prioritization that has to happen and how critical it is? Nodding, people need to nod. So I want to be sure that EFS has looked at it, you can even share it with. Yoko, I know you've looked at it, but everyone needs to look at that and really understand, because what we're gonna eventually do, correct me if I start saying something weird here.
Right.
We're gonna take that document and that will be the document that we say, this is the strategic plan implementation plan. Here's who's gonna do it, here's who's gonna do the testing, here's when they're gonna do it, who they're gonna provide the results to, etc. So that's gonna be the effort that comes of the, go ahead, please. No, go right ahead.
I was just gonna say, if you look at that implementation matrix, it seems fairly complicated when you first look at it. The first thing I would do in terms of the individual committees is like, look at what is applicable to the group that
Yes,
we're
yes.
going over now. You've got a more difficult topic really, because it's kind of whatever, whatever you choose in
Yeah.
terms of the sustainability. Kyoko has done a great job, I think, in terms of the scientific
Yeah.
review. That she's kind of highlighted for people, the ones that we need the feedback on. She's requesting like feedback now. And then eventually we're gonna have an online meeting to follow that up. So all I can say really is that I agree with you 100%. This is where the rubber meets the road in terms of the 90 plan. So anything that we feel is necessary and is missing, we want to communicate that now. Everything should be reviewed by our groups in terms of deciding on prioritizations. And if you have like a discussion about prioritizing something within your individual group and you're not sure of the final answer, we can also talk about it more here as a big group.
Yeah.
But in terms of what we're getting out of the 9-element plan, beyond just the general descriptions and of course the excellent like modeling work that's being done, this is it. This is not like a pie in the sky list, but this should be everything that we feel like we can get done, as much as we can figure out in terms of how we're gonna prioritize it. If you have questions in terms of what Wendy has provided in terms of the funding sources or the cost or whatever happens to be, this is the time and then these next few weeks for us to get that feedback to them. So we get a better product out in the end.
And
All right, so Virginia asked the question and there was silence, and there's good reason for it, I think. Jeff and I came in the middle of all this.
Mhm.
I've given you feedback on what I thought needed to be added to the PMPs.
right,
I also made the comment that there's overlap between the different programs that are, or project categories that we have. I don't believe that either one of us two have the historical perspective that some of the more tenured members of the committee have in terms of just prioritizing everything for you. That needs the priorities part. The detailed part, I feel good about the input I've given. But the priorities part, I need to understand those categories better. And I believe that we need around the table then to march through by the categories and then prioritize. Because I suspect that each category stands on its own. We don't give an overall priority to this. We have priorities within categories, right?
I think in the end, that can be up to us, but we don't wanna have it be completely, it's not really completely separate in any sense, is we have written in that report, like, these are the things we're doing in the next 3 years. All of them are that list, not any individual ones. I mean, my thought on what you're saying is maybe we have these individual group ones, and then collectively, we try to have a review where we go through and say, yes, as the committee, this is how we feel the prioritization should work. Hey, we've got 50 things in the end that are in the first 3 years, like, let's decide as a larger group, how we would separate some of those out. But I think dealing with the subject matter experts, like talking to Bill, like Scott Fitzbaum is gonna have some great feedback for us. Like, let's start with that expert level stuff, I think, and then, I mean, obviously, we can do whatever you all want, but I think they start with those individual meetings, get the expert feedback, and then go, all right, here's the big picture. How do we wanna
Okay.
address, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Roll it up to the full WSC, which you should be making the decisions anyway, because we're gonna be reviewing the results of that, making sure it doesn't sit on the shelf.
So, and I believe that, like, the completed matrix that will be shared with the WAC. I think the thought is to be presenting this, when he had mentioned something about there being sort of like display boards. Maybe people can vote on their own priorities when we have our public meeting, so they could have stuff and they could, do some sort of engagement activity where they check off a box or mark off the things that they think are their personal highest priorities, but in the end, we have to figure out a way to take that crazy list and then not crazy in that it's wrong, but just that it's a lot,
Complex,
and say, this is how we're gonna view this in the next years going forward.
right?
So I see it's a twofold charge that's being asked here. Number one is to make sure that the list contains things which we think are important and potentially impactful.
Exhaustive,
That's one.
yes.
The second charge is, now, within this list, prioritize them. And then the question, and I have the matrix, I've looked at it very briefly, and I'm interested in reading more, because there's a lot of data there. But then, was there a column, or is there a prioritization formula? Now, there are criteria in terms of complexity, cost, short-term, long-term, those are all valuable. But as one considers one line on that list, is there an ABC ranking? Is there a 1, 2, 3 ranking? Is there something that this group could react, or the public meeting could react to, and saying, geez, these guys, they rank this as a B priority, that should be an A priority, this is a mistake, this is really, that's, the question is, the charge number 2 here, is there a way you want us to prioritize them? Once we know the list is full of impactful items.
That's a brilliant idea. Can we ask the consultants if they've ever used a formula for prioritization?
So
Would there, I mean,
I'm thinking something like critical,
That's fine.
important, nice to have. There's 3 categories, but something like that we can assign to every single thing.
Yeah.
And remember what we said, that regardless of what we think are the priorities, we can't do anything without RFPs.
no,
So something that's in the second category may be something that's fundamental first. We would be stupid to ignore that.
Yeah.
That opportunity.
well,
But we do need to identify what we think is the most important. So I don't know, I think I'd be more comfortable with 4 categories, I just can't think of what the 4th category would be right now.
well, I like the idea of the fundable. I mean, all of us who have had careers where you've done strategic plans, that's been we know how to pay for this one, okay, up to the top of the list. So maybe it's, critical, important, nice to have, fundable. I mean, whatever, I don't expect.
It's separate from what we consider to be important for the lake. It
Well,
potentially.
It would have to be, so if it's important and fundable, that's pretty high priority. If it's nice to have.
We never know beforehand what fundable is. we have no idea what the powers in Albany and Washington are gonna decide is a priority in 5 years from now. We just don't.
Well, let's ask the experts, maybe they, I was thinking Liz would know if they've ever come up with a formula for that. And I get what you mean, and I think that's a good idea to try and figure out how to do this.
I don't think there's like, strict prioritization required, because the 9 element plans for other lakes, they just have like important stuff, but they do not say like, this is ultimately number one, and we are not going to do number two until number one is done, or anything like that. So as for the invasives and research subgroup, we only have like 6 items in that list. And they do have multiple sub items. And that is more of where the priorities could kind of shift around, but, we probably would identify 1 or 2 that are most important out of those 6. But the rest of the 4 or so are still important in a way, and we are not going to probably delete many of them.
So you really did a major category prioritization that might have 10 things under it. So this category is high priority, and it has 15 things under there. Maybe you can only do 5. Am I getting that right? And this is less prioritization. Okay.
And many times they have overlap, and I did provide pretty detailed instructions or comments about how to combine them, and thank you and Wendy for doing that for this round, and I hope that the list is manageable.
Yeah.
One other thing, I'm sorry, the thing I was thinking is that there are some priorities that have to do with the fundamental health of the lake. And then there are some that we prioritize because we can get them done in a shorter period of time, or it's obvious that it's gonna take a long time to do it. Say we wanted to, say one of the priorities is that we need to hire a full-time grant writer. Now, that's probably not something that's gonna happen anytime in the next, year or two. We'd have to come up with the funding for it, and how the salary is gonna get paid, and all of the things like that. But it would help us enormously. So it's a very important thing, but it is the timing of that has to get into where it is in that priority. And it may be that we need to give a number, but then you give a letter designation in addition about the timing or the what other important aspects of this could be added to it.
I mean,
I don't know.
if we thought about this from a strategic planning point of view, you might have 6 major pillars that are critical for managing a healthy, like our strategic plan at Bassett, it has 6 pillars. A non-negotiable, this stuff has to happen, and then under it were the things that needed to be done, and under that, the operational implementation power that should be done. But the prioritization was based on what are the major categories, so that sounds like that's what you did. I don't know if that works for the rest of the show, or whether that makes it more complicated.
Well, but I think one of the outcomes from doing this for me would be, we have limited resources. I mean, with the exception of 1 or 2 of us, we're all volunteering here.
Yeah,
And, because we don't have unlimited resources, we have to select where we're going to focus.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean ignore a important thing, but, it says to me, if I'm the regulatory committee, my job then would be to focus that group on the things that are germane for that committee, on the critical issues. And again, recognize that we don't have unlimited resources.
Yeah.
So, and that in turn would then, I think, lead to, well, what is the work plan for the next year? What's the work plan for the next 2 to 3 years? And so it will feed things. And some low hanging fruit, which we said, well, no, that might be a, K item, nice to have item, but we can do it with a little energy.
Yeah.
Well, do it, just
Yeah.
done.
Well, we have, you know, we
So
have
it
to,
would help, I would help to focus what we're trying to get done.
sometimes you have a JDI list, right? Just do it. I mean, what are you even talking about this for? Just do it, right? But I think what's critical is for Jacob at least, correct me if I'm wrong, but we can't have each committee doing something different. Because then we don't have a clear, you know, process for it. And then rolling it up becomes impossible to do because so if the scientific committee has already figured out a way, is it adaptable to the other committees to use? If there's some sort of process they will, I don't know, 'cause I haven't really, you know, gotten into that detail. Maybe what we should do is let's take all this conversation and then think it through and ask consultants if they have, there's a formula out there that we aren't even thinking of that would work, and then we'll get it to folks. Does that seem fair, Jacob? Does that make sense?
I think so. Let me go ahead and, I will email Wendy. I think, like you said, the main purpose is just now that we're using different definitions
Right,
as we start.
right.
I think a lot of the specifics of getting it worked out will be at the second half, maybe where we meet as this group.
Yeah.
And we go, okay, here's how we're fitting all of the working group things together. But let me reach out and send a thing, to Wendy and I'll share whatever
Okay.
feedback she has to all of you. So maybe once I've sent whatever I get back from Wendy, just follow up if you're like, I don't know what that means, or like, it could mean 3 different things and maybe different fit. So just let me know if it's not clear or you have any feedback, and then we can hopefully just by email get that kind of definitional stuff out to everybody. That works.
That's perfect.
You'd still work on charge number 1, i.e. making sure that the list is all encompassing.
Well,
We go ahead with that.
Yeah.
We don't need to hear back from Wendy about that.
no. So here's what I wanna know. Matt, have you reviewed that list?
I haven't commented, but,
Okay, are there comments that you might have about it?
not yet. A little more thoroughly, but that was very good.
Okay. Is there any need to compare it to what we've done in the past? To make sure we didn't forget something?
I think a lot of it is kind of an extension of what's been going on, which
Okay.
should, I think a lot of it is an extension of what has been going on, which
Okay.
is as it should be. A lot of it is because what we've been doing has been productive and successful, I think.
Okay. Who else should be laying their eyes on this thing that we haven't thought of? Like I thought about Bill Herman. Are there other humans who should lay their eyes on this who can try this? Pitfall would be great. He's been involved with this in the past. I assume,
Yeah.
did Christos provide feedback?
Not up to this point, but I believe he's
He
on
will-
the list
he will.
of meetings. Yeah.
It's part of the.
So my request would be very much take, I mean, we don't want things that don't make sense or just aren't things we can completely get done. But, my thought is during these initial working group meetings, when you've got like a bunch of experts or tangent experts, in the room, and that's a point to say, hey, everybody who's here, is anything in this category missing?
Okay.
Is there anything we're not describing well? Is there anything, you know, conversely, that's ridiculous, you don't think we can achieve in 15, 20 years or more if we had, but just generally lean on that expertise, I think, to get to that point. And I think eventually, when we've got public feedback, when we've got a clear whack, I'm not sure there's a lot more people to follow up with after that point.
I think the prioritization should be done as a committee as a whole, simply because experts get a little insular sometimes, and
Really?
we need to.
What?
We need to ensure that the priorities are clear to all of us so that we can represent the plan.
Sure.
When we come up with prioritization, numberings, categorization, whatever you want to call it,
The final say is here.
that's it. Everybody here needs to have a say on those priorities,
Fair enough.
regardless of what committee authored the PMP.
Sure.
Okay.
And in case you haven't looked at it, the implementation matrix only has 28 roads, it's not an exhaustive list, it is really nicely,
Yeah.
you know.
Some of that
and
less categories, and I do think it's much improved from your feedback. So,
I had like 120 or something before.
Go ahead, Gary.
Well, you mentioned Bill Harmon's name, inviting him to review some of this. I think that's really important. I talked to him briefly, randomly at the club, and he's still very interested in what's going on here. He's just not present.
Yeah.
But he really has a big interest here, and there's a lot of value in his system.
Yeah. I did offer BFS to share it with him.
Good,
That's up to BFS.
right,
I'll leave it to them.
yeah, make sure that they press that.
Yep. Okay, update on the first 3 chapters.
yes, so I am still in the process of reviewing it. My plan is to be finished at the end of this week, even if I'm here very late on Friday night, but I don't have any inspections the next 2 days. There are some issues that will have to be addressed. So if anybody else wants to look it over, there are just some structural organization things in the sections that I've read so far that do need to be addressed. So I did send that out. If anybody wants to look at it, you can, but at this point, there are some things that they're going to have to improve. So,
Thank you for doing
let
that.
me know if you have any feedback, but I'm working very hard to make sure that I'm confident that our questions and commentary have been addressed. And that things are clear and concise. But if anybody wants to look at it, you are more than welcome, and I think I sent that out, beginning of the week, end of last week, maybe.
I want to just talk briefly about WQCC. I just saw the minutes from the last 2 meetings, because here, context is, we're gonna try and, Victoria and I are talking about the table at the public meeting, and what can we provide, like an overview of what's been done. What are we working on, so that people can pick something up and walk away from it. So we're just talking it through. We'll bring it to Jacob when we're sort of done with the draft of it. We'll bring it here. And I just thought to myself, what is WQCC doing? So I got the last 2 meetings, which I think you're on and you're on. And I think there are there, I guess I should ask, aren't there things in there that should be part of the 90 plan that people are doing? That we didn't, I didn't know about. Maybe I don't need to know about. Like what you asked. Just a minute. Let's see. So is, like, for instance, the lake friendly pledge in there that OLA is working on? Are the things that OCCA is doing in there to make sure that we protect, community scientists and all that good work you're doing? I mean, are we sure that the stuff that's here is in the plan and we take credit for it, I guess, is my question. Or is that even a worry?
I mean, at least from my perspective, I've been sharing with Jake through comments and stuff, everything that OCCA is doing.
Okay.
If it would be helpful, I can share those minutes with everyone, just if anyone thinks there's other things that we might be missing that could be included.
Okay.
Because the WQCC meetings are very much about what is everybody doing, not just in that CO watershed, but throughout the county. And sometimes we might miss things that other people are doing that are still relevant.
Like, for instance, with they're establishing 2026 subcommittee priorities. And I'm thinking, geez, do we have input into that? Should we, WSC, say, gee, it'd be great if you could work on X, Y, and Z, or, I don't know, I may be way off base here. But when I got them, I thought, gee, maybe there's some, let's think about it. Let's just think about it. Well, let's, you and I, when we talk on Friday, let's think about it. It came up as a result of wanting to sort of catalog all we've been doing, because I don't think the public has any clue how much work we do. And I think we have to get it out there. So let us sort of run through that, see if that
It's the WQCC report to.
So the WQCC, it's like a subgroup of the Soil and Water Conservation District.
It was originally a group that came out of the last 90 process. A group of people who sort of came together to try.
Following the passage of first management plan.
First management plan, I'm sorry, thank you. And they came together saying, we ought to probably be talking again. And then it disbanded. And we, WS,
Disbanding implies that there was a conscious decision.
finished the buy.
Just not the whole.
It faded into the sunset, okay. So then we, WSC, started asking questions about it and it got re-energized. And we just haven't, I'll include it on the agenda coming up, but I think there's an opportunity to make sure we don't do this again. Have stuff going on there that we don't know about and vice versa, just to make sure we're really connected. Because everyone's doing a great job, sort of catalog it. So we'll chat about it on Friday. Do you lead it, don't you?
I'm the vice president, Christos is the president.
And that has been the challenge with the WQCC, is just having a good moderator.
Yeah.
Have somebody who's willing to call the meetings and put together a program that's of interest and keep harassing people till they show up.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, 11 put in sometimes, and
That may be why it faded away. If you don't have
Yes,
someone doing that,
exactly.
it fades away. And, okay, the July email newsletter went out. Just a request, if I do send something to you of high focus and say, I really need to hear from you on this before we send it out, I really want you to get back to me. Or if Jacob does, please get back. It really drives the work that he does or I'm doing. Please get back to me. I wanted to be sure that since we did take a vote on it, that everyone was comfortable that it was going on without a vote. So really appreciate those who did get back to me. And just, if you can put that in the back of your mind, I appreciate it. All the committees are in process. The wetland committee, is that a committee?
It's not really a committee, but in the sense that Wendy wanted me to reach out to a bunch of folks to see whether there wasn't more information we could add to the 9-element plan in terms of potential wetlands, legal fusion projects.
Right.
So
So I'll just.
I only sent out the message today, but looking to get a meeting.
It's
set up.
probably worthwhile just going over the change in what is now considered to be a wetland around the watershed
Yeah.
has changed a lot last January.
Well, it's pretty good. Yeah.
And that we're aware of that and we're trying to absorb that at least because the whole north end of the lake is a water, is a.
Well,
But that law has been challenged in court, that's what I'm saying, the whole thing is just totally unsettled until you're key.
so I know Ag is got a meeting set up. Sustainability is I'm the chair, but I would like to co-chair it with Jacob. He and I are talking about that committee, soon. Regulatory, is there a date?
Getting our composition straight.
Okay.
It just is not that easy to get a hold of
That's fine.
everybody, get feedback. The matrix, emphasizes the need to get the group together and get going with this.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
that's a priority for me.
All right, and scientific, I know is meeting. Don't forget about the committee tracking document. We agreed each committee would have a committee tracking document. So you gotta put that together as part of your work with whatever committee you're running. You need any help with that? Yeah.
The next item we already talked about, but as an extension of that. Has there ever been any discussion about a forestation committee? And is there any need for one?
I don't know. What do you think, Jacob?
It's sort of mindful of the tributary,
Could be,
Yeah.
could be under ag, I guess.
yeah.
But
It's a worthy concept, maybe to bring up, when I'm asking folks to know about the, usages in the watershed in terms of that, so I can bring that up when we meet
Okay.
in terms of wetlands.
Keep it on.
Well, there is a period because the forest in our area to change soon, and what do we, what's our position on it, how do we,
Mhm.
look after it? It's a good thought.
Well, in inquiring about this, I heard from Kevin Busser that for county lands on which there are forests, they assess those lands. They have a consultant come in and help them. They get a plan per forest, which may be do nothing, or it could be whatever. And then they create the plan and then try to get it done. So for county-owned forest land, they're actively managing it, from what I can gather. But that raises a question about we'll just go up East Lake Road here. Middlefield, I mean, and Victoria taught me that in terms of risk, for road damage and road out and so forth, that road is, well, one of the variables here may be the forest.
Yeah.
Anyway, it just was a thought. It was a thought, I don't know.
It's a good thought, good thought.
And ag districts include forested lands.
True.
So putting it under agriculture, while I say no at first, I think maybe does make sense. Because that's the way they're managed by the county and the state.
Yeah. And you've got,
As far as lands are managed as agriculture.
and you have people on the committee that do this stuff, you know, Christos and Rhea and all.
And all of a sudden now agriculture isn't just a Springfield thing, it's all of us.
Yeah, great. That's a good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're done with the meeting. I never know. Is there anything we didn't discuss? I want to just end it by saying, there is nothing, more, engaging than, difficult conversations about important things. And when we sit and have conversations and struggle through how we're gonna work things through, whether it be with the towns and the village or with each other, it's because it's important work and we should always, embrace that work. It's because we all care if we're at this table about all of this, not because we're critical of anything. So, I just want to make sure that I'm comfortable with it. I just want to make sure everyone. So anything that didn't get said,
Yes, there's one last thing.
okay,
How many people thought England won? How many people thought Argentina won?
My phone hurts.
Oh, you know.
fun.
Do people wanna know?
Yeah. Oh.
Watch it later.
Who wants to know?
England lost. I gotta.
That's revenge for the war, so.
It is.
All right, so on that